shaking, Daddy-O. So, the creature that won't leave the bleachers returns. What's up? Now that's what I'm talking about. Let me go hop into my power armor. Diamond City. Strong evidence that being perfectly happy using a pile of your own trash as a blanket is a genetically inherited trait.
Someone there.
Someone there?
No!
Lily, is that you? It's Cooter. Over here. Don't go in there. They'll kill you. Follow me.
Cooter? What's up? Hey, wait up, we're coming. Cooter? What the hell, man? What are you doing in here?
What am I doing in here? Why don't you ask that goddamn sheriff of yours? Going around starting shit with the gunners. Poking hornets' nests.
Whoa, slow down. Start from the beginning. What's going on?
Gunners, Lily! Gunner's been living in my house for 4 months now. They may be living in my tool shed, farm my crops, and give them the food. And it's all been a fucking get your scout. All the shit just to get one guy. That's how much trouble your sheriff hero's been starting.
Wait, you mean the gunners that took Hewitt are here? Right now? In your house?
That's the poor bastard's name, yeah. I'll never forget it. That's all he'd tell him. They tortured him, and he just kept repeating his name. He died for your sheriff's department. And now I'm living in a tool shed and shitting in a pot for them too.
Jeez, Cuda. I'm sorry. I had no idea.
Fuck your sorries, Lily. Why the hell you guys gotta go starting trouble and leaving us to clean up the mess?
Hey, no reason to keep chewing me out, Cooter. I ain't one of the department. And you know damn well the sheriff doesn't start shit, she finishes it. Diamond City would be Gunner City if it wasn't for her and Oaks. And the Gunners would have made slaves out of the half of us they didn't kill. She don't go picking fights, and you know it. But you can't expect us to roll over and take it. Not like you did, here, for 4 months apparently.
Take it? I'm just an old man, Lily. There's a whole squad in my house. I ought to shoot you for saying shit like that.
Oh, you're gonna shoot me for calling you a pansy, but not a gunner for taking your house and turning you into a slave on your own land, tough guy?
Oh, I'll shoot you right in that big fucking mouth of yours.
Bring it, you old fart. I'll punch your goddamn head down into your chest cavity and level your house with you and the gunners inside. Tell that to this hoary bag of sawdust and vinegar. I'm ready to go in there and make some ground gunner.
Is that so? Tell you what, you get my house back from me and I won't shoot you in that overactive mouth of yours. I'll even tell you what I heard those assholes talk about these past 4 months. Something tells me a sheriff wants to hear that.
And you stop blaming her for this. You know I'm right.
All right. Just get me my fucking house back.
It's a deal then, crazy old fool. Come on, let's go air out some assholes. Find out what we can before Cuda dies of old age.
Always a regular goddamn fucking comedian, Lily. Here's the key. Mouth.
Who?
Take her out!
Look at this. Did these assholes really drink every last one of the beers? Seriously though, look around. These guys were the ones who took Hewitt. They might have some intel around here. Check out this terminal. These are the assholes who took Hewitt, all right. They planned this for months, and we're hours from bugging out of here. The entry mentions the Hub City operation you did for Oaks, which means Devola was in town for something larger. And these guys were working with Hub City and that squad in Vault 75, which means they were all a part of this larger operation. Hey, you know what I just thought of? Did you check for intel when you took out Devola? Looting everything in sight and giving me heavy shit to carry ain't usually in the mission description either, but you managed to do that just fine.
Look at this goddamn mess! Those fucking gunners trashed my place! They drank all my beer, too! Why'd they have to drink all the beer?
Man, I'm really sorry they fucked your shit up, Cooter. I'll have Delano radio Zeke at the garage. They can come help you clean up. I'll even mention he needs to bring some beer with him. That sound good?
Well, it doesn't sound good, but it sounds better than where I was this morning when I woke up. So it'll do, little Lily. It'll do. I just want to sit on my porch, watch the ocean, and drink beer. Is that too much to ask?
That sounds like paradise, my friend. I'm gonna have to swing by on my next run and join you.
Listen, Lily. I wanted to apologize for yelling at you earlier about the sheriff. We all heard of her out here. We all know their camouflage. I wanted to tell you guys, but I just didn't feel safe. Those gunners kidnapped your friend all right. I saw them set up the ambush point. I didn't see what they did to him, because they carted him off. But they dumped his body back where they found him.
It's okay. I understand what it's like to be alone. You're out here by yourself. I'm glad you're still alive for what it's worth, Cooter. Anything else you can tell us that was important?
Whenever they talked plans, it was pretty obvious they were reporting to some colonel. They never said his name, just called him the colonel. They sure went to a lot of trouble to get your guy quietly and alive. It took them a couple of months of just waiting and watching. I remember them talking about this colonel guy because two of them were bickering over who got to deliver the good news to him. They were supposed to get your guy talking and send the info to this colonel. After that, they just waited around for a while and drank all my beer.
You sure about that? Did they say where he was? Where they were taking their reports?
No, they never said where they'd go off to. And we live out here on a peninsula, so you always gotta walk west to get out of here first. But there's more, so shut up for a second, I'll get to it.
Sorry.
So just last week, I seen them dragging a settler and his daughter down here and rough them both up. They put a gun to her head and threatened to shoot her. They handed the father something and screamed to him, "Get it done!" The father came back yesterday, and they returned his daughter to him. I don't know what he was doing for them, but he didn't have no choice.
Guarantee it was whoever dumped this herbicide in the water supply. Gotta remind the sheriff he was forced before she finds out who it was. Anything else before we bounce out of here, Cooter?
Yeah, they had me slaving for 4 months, Lily. You tell the sheriff she's got a hell of a blind spot in the way those patrols operate.
That's just it, Cooter. They're patrols, not frontline troops. They ain't got the manpower to defend the entire Commonwealth.
I ain't talking about a bodyguard, Lily. I mean her scouts ain't never stopped to say hi to anyone who didn't have something to trade. All Hewitt had to do was ask one of the other local settlers, and he would have heard all about how the gunners were watching him. Now he's dead.
Gee, I see what you mean about that, Cooter. You make a really good point. I'm gonna have to talk to the sheriff and Crenshaw about that.
The only thing better than a beer on the deck is a beer on the deck with a buddy. You tell the other scouts I said that.
I will. Who knows? Maybe they can bring some oranges with them for you.
Some orange what?
Oranges? They're fruit?
Orange fruit? What kind?
Orange... You know what? Never mind. You'll be seeing one of them scouts in a few days. Try not to shoot him, okay?
Wouldn't dream of it, little Lily. I'll be here. I've always been here.
I grabbed a holotape of this asshole's journal. We gotta get it to the sheriff. But I got a sneaking suspicion this all has something to do with events in the past coming back to bite us in the ass. Let's stop by Hub City on the way back. See if we can find any intel where you iced Devola. Try to tie this all together.
I ain't letting you get me.
What the?
Taking casualties.
Think I'm scared? Huh?
You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Getting swamped.
Keep your head down!
Just get out of there.
Huh?
I don't get it. Didn't you whack Devola and a bunch of gunners here? Where's all the bodies? Hey, what's that hanging over that workbench over there? That a brooch?
Hey,
Where at?
hold up a sec.
That noose the brooch was hanging on wasn't an accident. It's a safe assumption they cleared any intel out of here already, but this just confirms my suspicions about what's going on. Let's get back to the sheriff by way of a stop at my room first. You're getting caught up in something old and bitter. You deserve an explanation.
What?
Oh, you did. Did you just shoot at me? Oh, it's on.
Look at all that blood. Shit! Disappearing act. Huh? I just want to go one day without
Finished. Literally sick.
People say humanity has fallen since the war. How great could they have been to have done this to themselves? So, that explanation you're owed about the sheriff and the gunners. Huh. Where to begin? You see, they got a history that is making this cistern incident a little more complicated than you might think. I know Babs mentioned what happened to the sheriff in Pennsylvania with the gunners a while back at dinner night. That's where it starts, but it doesn't end there. There was a little incident here in Diamond City the gunners perpetrated. The sheriff's response? We call that the message around here. The message in the FSD motto, Mite Nuntius, more specifically. It's a touchy subject around here, because the gunners killed so many citizens of Diamond City that day. That story about a squad going AWOL from the Brotherhood by stealing a couple of vertibirds in the middle of the night? All true. The 4 lieutenants are all that's left of them now that the years in the wasteland have taken their toll. They stole a fuck ton of plasma weapons and well over a dozen T-60s when they left. The same T-60s the department uses today. Gary was there too. He's a civilian, but they've looked out for him since Crenshaw found him starving to death in a subway station in the capital. After they left, they hooked up with the outcasts in the Allegheny Mountains and lived there in exchange for the vertibirds and plasma weapons. If you ain't heard that whole story, go talk to one of the lieutenants. You got this unwritten rule around here that you don't talk about battles and struggles you weren't there for. I'm about to break that rule, because you're out here dodging bullets for this bad blood between us and the gunners. The sheriff got a job as a caravan guard after the outcasts fitted her with that fucking kick-ass arm of hers. She wanted to see what's out there. Gotta admit, if you were a raider and you saw a 6'4" bruiser like her sporting that arm, would you hit that caravan? Nah, you'd hit the next one. One of the stops on the caravan's route was here in Diamond City. They'd show maybe once a month, stay for a couple days, and move on. I was probably a tweener back then. That's the problem with being an orphan. I don't know exactly how old I am. Anyway, back then we only knew her as the mean-looking guard with the cool arm who wouldn't talk. Most of the younger girls wanted to be her back then. Total hero worship for the girl with no name image, you know? I'd follow her around the city when she was here, trying to act like her and imitate the way she walked. I know, pretty pathetic. The merchant she worked for, Fiddle, was a real cool guy. One of the most popular merchants I've ever seen. Not a wet blanket like Lucas Miller. He'd park out front and have candy for the kids when he was handing out the mail, relaying news and returning with the special request items. Then, in one of the smartest marketing maneuvers of all time, he'd whip out his fiddle and make it sing so he could dance and shit. He'd get a sizable crowd out there, and we'd turn it into a mini afternoon festival of sorts. Kind of became a tradition before long. That was the problem, though. We got predictable. Huge crowd out front, giant wide open gate into the city behind him. We were so stupid. So predictable. One of them afternoons, the gunners launched a surprise attack on the city. Started with one of them, the Vola, launched a fat man round right into the middle of the crowd from a blown-out window across the street. They killed almost 30 of us in that blast, including the heads of security, Fiddle, guards, women, and kids. Oaks worked security. His wife and daughter were killed. But he didn't find out till it was all over, thankfully. It spared him at least some pain. It's only sheer luck that I'm alive. I had to go back in to get some caps I saved up because I wanted one of them lemonades he was selling. The gunners had planned on dropping that mini nuke and then waltzing right in because they charged the wide open front gate right after that. There was hardly anyone left alive out front, but Oaks and the sheriff were two of them, so the sheriff took charge. I didn't see it firsthand, I was just a little girl, but I'm told the two of them emptied all their ammo and grenades stolen in the charge. They were able to turn the would-be fall of Diamond City into a day-long urban combat quagmire instead. Not a bad deal when you think about it. Long story short, the sheriff led him that day into not only beating the gunners across the river to Cambridge, but captured 30 or so of them too. But we had no idea what to do with the ones we caught. Well, food isn't exactly in generous supply in the wasteland, you know. So, we marched him into an alleyway north of the city, and kept him there that night, sitting on the ground, under lots of armed guards. The next morning, the sheriff sent her famous message everyone tells you to talk to Oaks when you ask about it. The sheriff started that day by launching a flare to get the attention of the gunners that retreated across the river, still licking their wounds. We, and I mean the whole city, marched them gunners north, up to the south shore of the river, and hung them, one by one, from the lampposts. We strung them up all along the river from the amphitheater to the alley where we had kept them the night before. That run-of-the-mill alley got a new name that day, Hangman's Alley. And the sheriff wasn't nice about it neither. This was no drop and snap hanging, not by a long shot. She used baling wire, didn't give them hoods, didn't tie their feet, and hoisted them up with a Brahmin on the other end of the line, slowly. Some of those fuckers took 5 or 10 minutes to stop kicking. I'd spit when I mentioned them, but I don't spit on my floor. She made them all watch their buddies die, one by one, till it was their turn to get the run up to the top of the next lamppost. And the ones watching from across the river? Did they ever go fucking apeshit seeing their buddies die? The flare did its job. They saw everything. But there was nothing they could do about it. We beat the shit out of them. They were in no shape to stop us, much less from across the river. They had to sit there and take their medicine while we hoisted their friends as high as they could go, kicking, gagging, and bleeding out their eyes and ears. We made the bodies the gift that kept on giving by leaving them up there to rot. Time and the elements eventually took them down. To rub salt in the wound, we took the ones we killed in the firefight and slung them over the river wall for the crows and dogs to tear apart. Practically overnight, the Commonwealth heard about what Diamond City did and the literal new sheriff in town. She hit the gunners so hard their grandparents felt it. We haven't had a gunner attack on the city since. But what we found out today, and the Cistern, and Hub City, something tells me they're dying for a rematch. This wasn't just about the sheriff's hatred for gunners. If you're looking to assign blame or call someone a butcher, understand the entire city would have ripped those gunners apart limb from limb with their bare hands if given the chance. They just killed our friends. Children, neighbors, and family members, a lot of them. I mean, Oaks hasn't been the same since. Never. The Gunners did something much worse than kill him that day. They killed his soul. The city needed the people that did this to hurt, and hurt bad. There was a rage in us over this. The sheriff knew it had to be answered. The only thing that kept us from becoming an ugly mob who beat him to death was the sheriff's promise of vengeance and strategy. The city didn't just need vengeance. It also needed real security to make sure the Gunners would never even think of pulling this shit again. Through the sheriff, we got our blood and our safety. We loved her for that, and we still do. We were all there, the whole city. We all came out from behind the walls and marched to the river just to watch every one of them die, and not a single one of us looked away. Everyone who lost a friend or family member got a chance to lead that Brahmin to hoist one of those fuckers up, and we all took it, including me. It's not something we like to talk about, but we were on our own, and it was on us to do something. Nobody else was gonna do what needed to be done. I mean, do you see a justice system around here? Me neither. But it provided as much closure as a lot of people were gonna get that day. And that Devola creep, whose head you brought back to Oaks? As I said, he's the one who pulled the fat man trigger. We all knew his name. We knew who he was and what he did, even though they didn't tell you up front. Every one of us. It may have been hidden behind a typical bounty, but the FSD wanted his head worse than Oaks let on. Much worse. That's why they had you leave the brooch. This is personal. Yeah. So now you know. You know just how mean we can get when you hurt our family. And as far as messages go, it don't get more clear than that. All we got is each other, and we're loyal to each other to the bitter end, whatever it may be. Don't forget that. Now let's go report this to the sheriff. This is pretty big. We're back, Sheriff.
I can see that.
How's the water doing?
Crenshaw returned already with the treatment. We should be operating at full capacity sometime tomorrow. Crisis averted.
Crenshaw returned with the treatment. The doctor is flushing the system now to make sure all traces of the herbicide are removed. Report. What did you two find out there? Very good. We'll turn it over to Lieutenant Dan for analysis. What else?
Turns out the gunners were operating out of my friend's house. He saw most of it. We iced the gunners for him, and he was more than happy to help.
So much for fact-finding.
Kuda was pretty upset, Sheriff. He wasn't gonna tell us nothing until he got his house back. Part of the intel was locked up in his head.
I see. So what facts did you find?
We got this holotape with the CEO's journal on it. Kuda said they took Hewitt alive and were talking about working for someone else. Which, gunners do. But we went through their terminal after we iced them to have a look. And this seems to be a gunner operation. Nobody hired him to kidnap Hewitt. They're doing this themselves.
Continue.
Kuda said he was afraid to come forward because he had no backup out there. And I gotta admit, he is alone out there. It makes him a great victim. Basically, he said he'd agree to be our eyes and ears out there if the scouts stop by and have a few beers with him on their patrol. And you gotta know, Kuda said whoever spiked the water here was forced under threat of having his daughter killed. So once you do find out who it was, keep that under consideration when figuring out what to do with him.
Good work. And the gunners?
Oh yeah, almost forgot about him. Duh, Lily. Where were we? Oh yeah. So you'll see on this guy's journal he talks about Devola and the gunner Crenshaw whacked in Vault 75 being officers for this operation of theirs. Turns out, the ones in the vault were tasked with kidnapping random schlubs for the Institute as a revenue stream to fund this whole thing. And the ones in my friend's house were in charge of poisoning the cistern. They succeeded and were set to leave tomorrow. So we headed back to Hub City where Devola lost his head and looked for intel, cause nobody told my sidekick here to look for it the first time.
Well, I'm glad you were smart enough to do so, Lily.
Someone had been by to clean up the bodies, so that place ain't fully abandoned. They definitely took anything of value out of there, though. But they left Oakes' FSD brooch behind. Remember the calling card put on Devola's body? It was wired to blow, of course. But what was really interesting is that it was hanging from a noose, Sheriff. A noose. You know what that probably means.
It would seem the gunners need to be taught a new lesson.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So what's the next step?
For you, nothing. Thanks to you two, we have a significant amount of intel that needs analyzing before we can act on it. But there is a pressing matter that we could use your friend's help with. Lieutenant Dan is waiting for you in the conference area. He'll have your payment. There is also another matter we could use your help with. The lieutenant will have the details, but briefly, there's a loose end regarding the Gunner Institute link you uncovered. We'd like to fix it.
Yeah?
Hey,
Lily's sidekick. Here's your payment. You should get some rest first, then come see me about an important mission related to your Vault 75 intel. Can I assume you're ready for your mission now? The holotape of the gunner lieutenant you killed in Vault 75 contained many encrypted journal entries, as well as the ones you read. This Lieutenant O'Brien was overseeing a running kidnapping contract for the Institute to raise revenue for an as-of-yet undetermined purpose. His company would kidnap as directed by the Institute, deliver their objective, and collect their substantial payment. He was under explicit orders from his commanding officer not to kidnap from Diamond City, our organization, or anyone under our protection. While that raises questions about what purpose they needed so many caps for, that is not why you're here. The only reason we know of this operation at all is because Lieutenant O'Brien got greedy, disobeyed orders, and took a contract to kidnap Lily.
Fucking typical. Only two things you can count on in this world. Gunners being greedy, and the shit hitting the fan I'm holding.
We'd call it a lucky break, but that ignores what Lily's been through. Nevertheless, it was not the only outside contract the lieutenant took. The lieutenant set out a squad with the goal of kidnapping either Dr. McClintock or Mr. Dr. Pepper as targets of opportunity. The squad has been operating independently and is unaware that O'Brien's company was liquidated by Crenshaw and yourself. Neither Dr. McClintock nor Mr. Dr. Pepper leave the city very often, or regularly. When they do, they book passage with a caravan for safety. This necessitates the gunners setting up a spotter to monitor the entrance to Diamond City to give their squad advance notice. Lieutenant Harkins has found that spotter, sitting in a building south of the front gate to the city, not far from Hardware Town. We don't want the spotter, though. We want the whole squad. So we're laying a trap, and you're the bait. That makes this particularly dangerous.
Don't you worry, Dan. It's okay if we need to risk my sidekick's life for this mission. That's a chance I'm willing to take to protect my friends.
You're going to pretend to be Mr. Dr. Pepper. He's waiting for you in his room. He's been briefed and will have a set of clothes for you to wear. Put them on. You then meet Carla at the front gate. We've booked passage for you with her caravan to Abernathy Farm and told her to make it known. You will proceed with Carla to the outskirts of the fens to ensure the gunner spotter sees you dressed as Mr. Dr. Pepper leaving the city. Once you're outside the fens, you'll break off from Carla for her protection and proceed to Abernathy Farm on roads by way of Walden Pond. The gunners will know your destination and are likely to kidnap you close to Abernathy because they can predict you will be near there eventually. Lieutenant Crenshaw, his scouts, and some snipers will be following you from a distance behind in anticipation of the kidnapping attempt. Your job is to draw out the gunner kidnapping squad and keep them busy until Lieutenant Crenshaw and his men can arrive. Lieutenant Crenshaw may have more orders from there which are need to know depending on mission status. Obey them and you will be paid handsomely.
Yes?
it's Magnuson. Apologies for my sudden absence. There were circumstances beyond my control. I understand you have possession of the holotape you were sent to retrieve. Good. Victory is within our grasp. Soon we'll have constructed the supercomputer and shall have control over atomic rain. But first, a brief field trip is in order.